The old adage from high school, bigger, faster, stronger, it only gets you so far. It only gets you out of high school.
Yeah, yeah.
When you go into the elite ranks, man, it's all about how you move. And if you want to be in the top 1%, like when you look, when you get into elite athletes, collegiate athletes, that difference between the high end of the sports is 0.5%, 1%. So what are you going to do? You know, the functional movement is again single-handedly one of the most important things that can help kind of offset any of those issues. And you take a guy who can squat 500 pounds but can't reach behind his shoulders because he's got terrible shoulder mobility. Well, okay, how's that guy going to catch a football or move a basketball or catch the wrestler as he's swinging around on the backside?
Welcome to the Winning Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Schwartzman. I'm a family man, a coach, a wannabe athlete. After earning 3 master's degrees and countless certifications, I've decided that podcasting is how I'm going to continue my education in all things wellness, longevity, and performance. Join me to learn along.
Yeah, I race professionally and semi-professionally. Depends on what level you want to be at. So almost all the same. In cycling, like Tour de France type cycling. I started when I was 16, I think. I raced at that level, at the high level for about 25 years. I started racing. I met my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, Julie. So
Yeah.
she's the one that got me started. And between her and her dad, I was tricked into cycling. So as a kid or as a teenager, young adult, I was good at all kinds of different sports. I played football and track and wrestling and swimming and diving and martial arts and all kinds of different things. I was good at a lot of different things. I just had an opportunity to run my cycling, and so I did. Now, fast forward over a 25-year career, I've raced all over the world. I'm a national champion. I raced in world championships for the national team. Like I've been on teams from all over this country and other countries. There were many times in my career where I was the only American on the teams that I raced for, so that was fun and interesting. And then in 2010-ish, maybe. So instead of going to college right out of high school, I decided I wanted to be an athlete instead. So I was an athlete, and then I used it when I grew up. I realized that I could get my education somewhat paid for. So I started racing on scholarship for a school in Texas, and that got me started in school. My bachelor's degree is in exercise science. Ultimately, I ended up having a bad crash. I broke my back, transferred to SIUE, lost my scholarship, so I just finished on my own. We moved back to Illinois, Missouri, St. Louis, Illinois side at the time. I was able to bounce back and race a little bit after that, but I was never the same. Julie, my wife, started coaching at Lindenwood. She was the head coach out there at the cycling program at Lindenwood, and that I did my master's there. Kind of helped her with that gig, raced for the team for a little bit, helped with the athletes there, doing some coaching programs and strength stuff with them, and was an assistant coach for her, well, a volunteer assistant coach for her. And then just through happenstance, I thought my master's was good enough. I had master's in human performance out there at Lindenwood. And I thought that was where I wanted to stop when I started. But then through a series of other events, I decided I made it this far. I might as well polish it off and get that terminal degree. So I ended up doing my PhD at Concordia University in Chicago and in health and human performance. And so that's kind of been my educational career, my cycling background, kind of all merged into one pathway, I guess you could say. I literally eat, breathe, live health and wellness and training and exercise and everything else. So it's a huge part of my life, obviously. And then, yeah, I taught for a while at the schools. I was at Lindenwood for a bit, a couple of the community colleges locally here. And then, yeah, ultimately now I'm at Body 20 doing EMS training. So I work with electrical muscle stimulation now. So it's pretty cool.
They do it's like a wetsuit with
Yep, the
electrodes
whole
on
body,
it. Yeah.
the whole body wetsuit with diodes. And we do specific exercise movement patterns through electrical stimulation. Think TENS therapy from physical therapy,
Yeah.
only 1,000-fold. It's whole body, and we can adjust the stimulation to do as I can lock your muscles out if you want.
Yeah.
Like however hard you want it. So yeah, we have levels, but in a nutshell.
What's the science behind that?
So we know through basic muscle pattern movements that when you do a bicep curl or any kind of muscle extension or movement pattern, you only fire the muscle fibers that you need. You don't fire the whole body of muscle, regardless of how heavy the weight is, because it's just not possible. So what we do with this EMS, we stimulate those muscle fibers that aren't being fired, so we can actually target the whole muscle of body or the whole body of muscle to excite each fiber to be fired at the same time. So we can exponentiate any movement pattern, muscle recruitment through those bodies of muscle. It really is helpful for athletes who are stuck in a plateau. Your 1 RM bench press, you're stuck at 305 and you just can't get past it. Through a couple of stimulation exercises, we can stimulate the whole body of the muscle, and then boom, you can get a 5-10% increase in movement pattern because now you're using more of the muscle as what you used to. So
You'll do it like, let's say we've got that 305 presser that they just can't hit 3 plates, 315. They've just failed at it for six months or whatever. You'll strap like pads on them and shock them to help them achieve that 315. Is that correct?
Yeah, kind of. So you're in the muscle, you're in the suit, and we put you through a series of functional movement patterns. So you won't actually work with weight while you're in the suit. It's too much stimulation to do the weight. As a matter of fact, we have a hard rule. You can't have any weights up over your head, because if you're stimulated in the muscle pattern and you cramp and you lose it, you conk yourself in the head. So we just go through a series of functional movement patterns that kind of help with the gym movement patterns, for lack of a better way to put it. So whenever when you're not in the suit and you're in the gym doing the thing, one of the diode sets are across the chest for the pecs. So those muscles are specifically being stimulated. And then when you go into the gym, now you have more fibers to work with. It's the same thing that we all know. It's muscle fiber is like a straw with a whole bunch of little strings down the middle of it. You pick up a gallon of milk, you're going to pull on 4 or 5 of those strings. You pick up a 80-pound bar, you're going to pull on 100 strings. Well, it's the same. That concept is being applied when you stimulate the muscle and connect those nerve endings. Now, when you go to lift that plate or that gallon of milk, you're pulling with all of those fibers, just a whole lot less tension on each one. So everything's working more wholly together, a more synergistic approach with that body of muscle.
So what population do you see in there? Do you see bodybuilders or powerlifters or people trying to?
We have some bodybuilders, we have powerlifters, we have athletes, we have 20-year-olds, we have 40-year-olds, we have 60-year-olds, I have 90-year-old. I mean, it's across the body. We can help everybody. Everybody needs muscle recruitment.
Yeah.
Young or old, whether you're an athlete or you're 80 years old trying to get out of your car. So it's beneficial across the board. We control the stimulation, so we can adjust with whatever we need it to be. to help with whatever movement pattern we're doing. So
Yeah.
each week
Any,
is different exercises, and we just focus on that functional aspect.
now, gosh, would you do that with somebody who's maybe coming off of like a spinal cord injury, or maybe was like bedridden for a while? I mean, what about like
Yeah.
almost
So,
like a medical side of it?
yeah. So actually, funny story. One of my accident that caused me to lose my scholarship, broke my back.
Yeah.
I have some pretty severe neuropathy and nerve issues in my right leg, to the point you could stomp on my foot and I wouldn't feel it. So I've struggled
Boy,
with it for a long
I think
time.
I think
I'm
that's
at a point with that.
I was saying I think I saw that in Mr. Deeds. I think he's got the
Yeah.
same thing going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of to a point where, like, you know, I'm facing another really big surgery, but my doctor has said because I move so well that we need to push it off as long as possible. However, the first time that I did the EMS training, my leg hasn't moved. There's muscles in my leg that haven't moved in a while that were just on fire that night. My foot was just twitching.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
so I mean that's just personal experience, right? So yes, if we have somebody from a medical standpoint who has some nerve damage, some neuropathy, spinal cord injuries, whatever, we can excite that nervous system to connect those muscle fibers together to create them to move. We know there's research in this. It's in the medical field, even at the hospitals and stuff like that. It's a therapy intervention to use the EMS to create muscle mobility in patients that aren't using those muscles. And so it's a way to excite that system.
Interesting.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. What drew you to this to Body 20? How long have you been there?
I've only been there for a few months. It was kind of a needed career change for me. So I was teaching at the school, and just it, I just needed a break from everything for a little bit.
Yeah.
And where I was at OsteoStrong, where we were working with osteogenic loading with osteoporosis and osteopenia, it was great. It was fun. I loved it. I loved the people that I was working with, but I just needed a change. This opportunity, it's interesting. It's the science behind it is cool. I mean, my PhD, I love research. I love all the sciencey stuff, and there's a lot to it. From a personal standpoint, it helped my leg. It's helping my leg, so I kind of wanted to follow that rabbit hole down a little
Yeah.
bit. And it was
Absolutely.
an
Yeah.
opportunity that I kind of just, it would have been foolish for me to pass up. So I took it.
Yeah.
Now that I'm not racing, I was medically retired a couple years ago, so I can't race anymore. So
What's the timeline been like since your back break, your back injury?
let's see, I broke my back in 2012, maybe right around there. So it's been about 15 years
Yeah.
ish, give or take a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
bit.
Right.
Um, So yeah, so like I said, I came back. I was able to start racing again about a year after my injury, but I never came back as good as I was. It was good enough to do a couple of different things. I still made the world's team. I was able to go to worlds, and so I was able to come back well enough, just not my old self. And then actually, it was a tune-up race here in St. Louis that I was doing with the college students, and I had been having problems with my back for a while, for a couple months over the winter and the training, and I was starting to lose the feeling in my leg, and I knew I was struggling with like feeling where my feet were, or at least that one foot. And I was in a tune-up race, and 2 laps into the race, and I was a danger to myself and everybody else. And Julie was there at the race with the team, and I went out the back and I pulled off to the side of the road and I laid the bike down, and I told her, I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm dangerous. I can't feel the pedal. I can't keep my foot in the pedal.
Yeah.
I can't stand up. I think this is it. And yeah, a week later it was confirmed with the doctor. And so yeah, I'm out.
That's It's a shame to hear that, but you think so did you get another decade, almost a decade in after your first injury? I mean,
Yeah,
but think about that's why it's so important to be in badass shape like ahead of time
yeah,
because you went and raced internationally after your accident.
yeah,
And you weren't maybe at your best, but you had been in such good shape and pushing
yeah,
it that even after an accident, you're still better than the 99.9% of the population.
right.
So
Well, and I mean, even take that another step further. I laid the bike down, went to the doctor's office, and the doctor said, "Yeah, you need another surgery." Because I had surgery like that July before, and the doctor's like, "You need another surgery, but you move better than most 20-year-olds. So
yeah,
you're 45." I was 44 at the time or whatever, and he said, "You move better than most 20-year-olds. Like, put this off 10, 15 years and just keep focusing on being able to move. Obviously, you can't ride a bike anymore. I'm one bad fall away from a really bad spinal cord injury.
yeah,
So so it's not worth the risk to race or even do anything that's going to hurt that. But you would not believe how hard I worked to be able to move like most 20-year-olds, just so I can keep pushing off that surgery. But yeah, just like you said, like being in shape and helping, like just focusing on my own physical condition it's made a world of difference.
yeah. I think it's interesting that you went from osteo strong to body 20 because both of them are not quite lifting weights. They're strength training, but not traditional. So do you
Yeah.
just hate the weight room or what's the deal?
No, I love the gym. I love the gym. I still go to the gym. I still do stuff. However, I'm certified in functional movement, and functional movement is it's the lifeblood of everything we do. As an athlete, as a high-end athlete, I spent as much time being able to functionally move than I did at the gym, or not quite on the bike, but at the gym at least. And now, like, it's such a big part of my background with functional movement that, like, that's what keeps me moving. And when you talk about functional movement, it's exactly that. It's like how you do movement patterns that help you functional in daily activities. There's a series of exercises and mobility patterns that you do that can get you to get out of bed, walk upstairs, get out of your car, get off the couch, that most people overlook. And it's probably single-handedly the most important thing that an athlete can do, is improve the way you move. Because if you can move better in your space, then you're going to move better in your sport, period. And I've seen it tenfold over with athletes or anybody. You take somebody to do functional movement and you teach them how to move within their space from a functional standpoint, and then put them into the field of play. You can tell that they just move better, and you're less injury prone. You're faster. You're more agile. You can just move better.
Uh, 12 or 15 or 20 years ago, I would have heard that and I would have thought, eh. But once you work with athletes people long enough, and you see that like a lot of times your biggest, strongest, best looking athlete is on the sideline. You're just like, what's the deal? And
Yeah,
oh, I got hurt lifting because I love lifting, but I don't love uh, the nitty gritty nuance of working on movement patterns, or this hip was working, but I told myself not to be a sissy and to squat anyways. And like, it's like, how many times do we have
right,
to lose our best body to poor motion? Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's the old adage from high school: bigger, faster, stronger. It only gets you so far. It only gets you out of high school.
yeah.
When
Yeah.
when you
Uh,
go into the elite ranks, man, it's all about how you move. And if you want to be in the top 1%, like, when you get into elite athletes, collegiate athletes, that difference between the high end of the sports is 0.5%, 1%. So what are you going to do? You know, the functional movement is again, single-handedly one of the most important things that can help kind of offset any of those issues. And you take a guy who can squat 500 pounds but can't reach behind his shoulders because he's got terrible shoulder mobility. Well, okay, how's that guy going to catch a football or move a basketball or catch the wrestler as he's swinging around on the backside? Like,
Yeah.
you just outrun him.
Yeah.
I'll move
It's
him at least.
yeah, so many good athletes have just trained themselves onto the sideline, off the field and onto the sideline.
Yep.
How about you? If you had a time machine, knowing what you know now, not only being a competitive athlete for 2.5 decades, your knowledge from the classroom, both as an instructor and a student, and then working in the industry. If you could go back and train differently, what would you do differently training wise for young Josh?
Um, I think early I would have hit the gym earlier in my career. I didn't start really lifting weights and gym work until a few years in. So I think I kind of got behind a little bit on that. Most of that is because the nuance of my sport. Most professional cyclists, the Tour de France just ended. You see those guys on TV. The tallest guys are 6 feet tall. Most of those guys, they look big, but they're like 5'3", 5'4", 5'6". Like, they're tiny guys, weigh 120 pounds. I'm a little over 6 feet tall. I've always been a little bigger than most people on the bike, but it was always ingrained into my head. Power versus weight, watts per kilo is what everybody grained into my head. So I never tried to work on being strong outside of what I needed to be. And I think early in my career, I had some injuries because of that. Later in my career, I did hit the gym. I did work out and make myself stronger, upper body and other aspects, being able to move a little better. And that helped me with my injuries. So staving off injury, hit the gym a little sooner. I think the other thing, honestly, the other thing was recovery. Young me was go, 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 go. And I don't think I fully hit my potential until I realized recovery was important, whether it was from just training load or from injury. I'm that guy that broke my arm, and 2 weeks after I broke my arm, I took a Dremel tool and cut my cast off so I could go race. That was me. And that's not a joke. I did that. So, but like, give yourself a chance to heal and come back. And yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing. Heal, give yourself time to recover, hit the gym, work out a little harder.
So when you were in a good training zone, handful of years in your career, your training's going pretty well. It's not only bike work, but it's in the weight room as well. And no need to tell me like the sets and reps or anything like that, but what does a week of training as a competitive cyclist look like at that point?
So for me, I was on the bike 20 to 30 hours a week, depending on the week and the workload. And then I was in the gym probably another 6 to 8 hours a week in the gym doing strength training. And then it's all the little things, right? 45 minutes every night stretching while I'm watching TV, or another 2 hours a week getting a massage, or whatever those. So anywhere from all in between 30 and 50 hours a week, depending on what you're trying to do and if you add everything into it.
Yeah.
So it's quite a bit.
Yeah. That's but cycling, I worked with swimmers for quite a while, cycling for just a little bit as well, over under Julie's reign at Linwood.
Yeah.
But the volume, people don't, from traditional land-based sports, the volume people just don't understand is that
No.
the joints and the lack of eccentric contractions, you guys can just train so much more. You can just live on those bikes.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I remember the first year that I was invited, I knew ahead of time that I was going to US Pro National Championships. And it was the longest race I'd ever done, 156 miles. And to train for that, to be as fast as I needed to be, I knew I couldn't win it because of the course. I knew the course. It was too hilly for my large carcass to get up. But I had to be there for my teammates, right? So the workload to train, to know that I was going to get dropped was insane. Like 7, 8 hour training rides on, a few times a week just to get ready to do 156 miles so I could work for my teammates and not finish. I knew ahead of time I wasn't going to finish,
Yeah.
but I did my job, so it was good. I got on TV
Yeah.
for a while, so it was
Yeah.
good.
That's sweet. Yeah, you said those other guys are built like jockeys, and you're like a Clydesdale. Like,
Right? It's exactly so. Yeah. So that's so for my focus of racing, like I focused on the criterium and the track racing, right? So here in the United States, we have a style of racing here called the criterium. It's what I'm national champion in, and it's think Formula One only on bikes and through your city streets. Like,
okay.
so they close down like 4 or 5 blocks, and they make a half mile to a little over 1 mile course with the streets closed down. And then you race on this course for however long, 100K hour, whatever the length is. And then on the velodrome, the track, that's what I went to World Championships in, was on the velodrome. So it's fixed gear, single speed. Because of my size, I was one of the top sprinters in the country. And just the way I'm built, even as a runner, I was a top 5 high school track athlete in the state in the 100 and the 400. So I was always quick.
Yeah.
And so that translated to the bike. I was always fast in the sprint. So I always did the short, fast stuff. But also because I'm not small, I was really good because I could push my way through and nobody could push me around.
Yeah.
So it had its benefits. But with that said, if I was called up to go do a 9-day stage race in El Salvador and the volcanoes and the mountains, I suffered
Yeah.
like no other because I had to carry all this up a hill that was 10 miles long. That was awful. But
Yeah.
it was my job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that goes.
What was your PhD emphasis?
So health and human performance was the degree. A lot of different research topics in there. I came out with research done in exercise intervention protocols with police officers and firefighters. I have research in exercise intervention protocols for spinal cord and traumatic brain injury patients. And then I have work in the psychological component, so mental skills and visualization sets on elite cyclists specifically, but on elite athletes. So a little bit of a trifecta within that whole program.
Nice. With that research emphasis, were you teaching that? Were you teaching that at the collegiate level?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I was doing a lot of exercise science classes, psychology, sports psychology. So yeah, it was kind of in the same vein.
Yeah.
Health and wellness, corrective exercise, stuff like that.
I hate to I kind of moved ahead, but I want to go back real quick because
No, you're fine.
I love I love the focus on like youth athletics. So you mentioned being a pretty proficient sprinter on a running sprinter in
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah.
And you said that you did pretty well, in
Mhm.
athletics before focusing on cycling, which if you're a little bit over 6 foot and you're fast, you're probably gonna be decent at a lot of stuff.
Right.
When did you cut the other sports off and I'm kind of just a cyclist. When did that happen?
Pretty much immediately. As soon as I realized that I could make a career out of cycling, and my girlfriend loved it. So if I
Yeah.
wanted anything with her, she was gonna keep me on, so I had to stay with it.
Yeah.
But you know, just like any other sport, if you really want to be good at something, you have to focus on it. You know, and just kind of the way my life went, cycling was I'm not gonna say it was the easy thing to focus on because it was no means easy. But for me, it was the thing that I could focus on. You know, yeah, could I have? I've actually had this conversation with Julie before. Like, you know, maybe could I have gone on and done another sport professionally? Maybe, I don't know. I was good at a lot of stuff, so it's possible, but cycling was just the thing that was in front of me, and I loved it. I fell in love with it as soon as I started doing it, and yeah, so it was kind of an easy. But that's when I cut it
Yeah.
off
Is it,
almost
and
immediately, just to
that was
focus
about
on.
age 16 or
Yeah, 16, 17,
yeah.
18, somewhere there.
They say, have you ever gone through the book Range, I believe by David Epstein?
I've heard it. I've heard
It's
of him, but I haven't read that book.
it is it's an overview of why great athletes are great, and range is the conclusion that doing a wide variety of things builds up the base of your pyramid. And the way pyramids work is the wider that pyramid is, the higher the pyramid can go. And so
Yeah,
he talks about Tiger Woods, says Tiger Woods is a freak, not just because he's so accomplished in golf. It's that he only golfed and he only did his sport. Whereas if you look at so many other athletes who are great at their sports,
yeah,
they did a whole bunch of stuff until about age 15-ish, and then they start
yeah,
focusing on their main gig. So
yeah. That's exactly what I did. Like I said, I was a diver, I was a swimmer, I was a wrestler, I was a football player, I was a track guy. Like I did everything, martial arts, and and I was also like high level at all of those things. Yeah, I have a couple of black belts in two different styles, right? I was an all-state football player. I was a top five state track runner. You know, I was my freshman year in high school, I was a top state diver and a swimmer. So it wasn't like I was just okay. Like I was good at all these other
yeah,
things.
yeah.
And I had that base, like you said, I had a good platform. And then yeah, about it was after I met Julie and started training with her and riding with her, and yeah, about 16, 17 is when I really focused on something else,
What
and
was
that
the
was it.
for martial arts, diving, and wrestling? What kind of years did you put in? What kind of years did you have in that?
Um, so martial arts, a lot. I started when I was like 5 years old, and all the way up through to the time I was about 14. So decent amount of years there. Wrestling and swimming, diving, a year, maybe two,
Yeah,
three tops, depending on which
yeah,
one it was. Same with football, 3 years,
yeah,
track, couple years. Um,
yeah.
so
I
never
asked,
like a full on focus until I was older and it was in front of me.
yeah, I ask about like diving, gymnastics, and wrestling because those are the physical literacy that you gain in that transfers outward.
Yeah,
Whereas like you could play football for 20 years and then what you do on a diving board is probably not going to be impacted too much. But I
right.
think I believe that diving would make you
Yep,
better at whatever you're going to do, or
100%.
wrestling or martial arts. So
Yep, the
um,
spatial awareness alone on those three sports, I mean, yeah, it's insane. So,
yeah,
sure.
I've got a couple of ex divers that I've worked with that are just great athletes, and it's kind of like a hidden. It's almost like a hidden gem in the options of athletics. Is that
Right.
yeah? People, I don't know if people realize they can dive and then go do other sports afterwards, but yeah.
Exactly.
Um, so you're going through academics, you're in body 20. Um, how did you, and maybe I don't know if you want to take it in this direction just yet, but how did you tie in your personal experience, your professional experience, educational, and then you have, I think it's 5 children,
Five kids. Yep.
5 kids, and some of them have done pretty well educationally and athletically as well. So,
They're all right. Yeah.
if we could go down that rabbit hole for a minute or two,
Yeah.
or a long time, I'm just
I could talk about them all day long.
I'm
So it's
a
all good.
I'm a lightweight. I've just got two, a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. So, and my wife tells me that's all I'm gonna get. So, I'm always looking for like tips and clues on how to make them superhuman.
Right? Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it's I don't know. It's Julie's fault. They're great because of her. I was along for the ride. That's what I tell her. So I
yeah,
don't know. Yeah, I mean they're all great. They've done their own thing. They're all different. I'd say probably the biggest thing that we've done with them. I never wanted them to be bike racers. It's a hard life. I didn't want them to do that. We hoped that they would do like a higher education situation. And most of them have, most of them will. They're all super intelligent. We've had a couple that were really good. My daughter is a national champion on the cycling world, so she won the road race as a junior. So, but now she's focusing on her PhD in biochemistry. So it's just kind of across the spectrum, right? All of my kids they're doing different things, but they've all super intelligent in their own way. And I'd say, their life experience is significantly different than others because we traveled a lot. Um, they, we kind of let them kind of grow at their own pace, I guess you could say. But also like held them accountable for what they're doing in life. But let them be in charge of it, right? Like we can tell them what to wear or pick out their clothes or what they're going to do. Let them have autonomy in their life and let them choose where they're going to go. So it's kind of how we rolled with that, and so far so good. It's all
yeah.
worked out pretty well so far.
Nice. Um, watching, being able to apply coaching principles, physiology, health, and wellness. But do you think there's anything you did or encouraged them to do that maybe help them be a little bit more successful? And that you can apply that to athletics or just being like law-abiding citizens or whatever you want.
I mean, I, just like everything else, it's a nurturing thing, right? You lead by example, you teach what's right, wrong, where to go, what not to do, what to do, how to do something. Um, and don't be afraid to dip your toe in whatever water you're trying to dip your toe into. And try something new. We always encourage them to try something new. I mean, my daughter at 15 years old, we bought a 76 Corvette and we rebuilt it together. I taught her how to do everything she knew how to do. We painted it in the garage. We turned the garage into a paint booth and we painted it. We did the fiberglass. We did all this stuff. So basically the story with that is like we've always tried to tell them like there's nothing you can't do. Just put your mind to it and do it. And if you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen. And so just trying to not have that control and let them kind of grow on their own. And we try to do it with them all right now. Like, I'm here for you. I will help you in any way I can. And you just, whatever you want to do, just send it and do it. And I will help as much as I can on the way, but it's your choice. It's kind of worked out so far, right? Like, we never wanted to be one of those parents that were like the hockey coach dad or the sideline parent that just gets irate when their kid doesn't get played well or doesn't dribble the ball right or whatever. So we never wanted that pressure for them because we've seen it a lot throughout our career, and the students that we deal with. So we didn't want that for them. So if they wanted to play basketball, we let them play basketball. If they wanted to ride bikes, however, we did make them prove it. So I remember with the two that did become bike racers, they were 12 and 14 or 10 and 12, somewhere around there. I don't remember. But they were like, oh, we want to race bikes. This is like, mind you, this is like October, right? So it's October, it's off season for me. I'm starting to train a little bit in the winter, building up my winter base, and they come to us and like, hey, we want to race bikes. I'm like, all right, prove it. Here's the deal. Racing season, racing licenses start in January. You want a racing license for now till January 1st. Here's a training program, and it wasn't easy. I gave them a training program. Like, here's a training program every single day. You ride out, you do the program, prove it that you can do it. Don't skip a day, prove it that you want it. And they did. They did every single day. They would, every time I would go out for a ride that they could go with me, they would want to go with me. And oh man, there were some days I would come home and I would tell Julia, like, what am I doing? You know, I crashed 3 times because my daughter ran into the back of me because she wasn't paying attention and just smashed into the back of me. Now it's like every ride I went on, I was falling down because the kids were running into me. But whatever, I still let them come with me. We picked ourselves up and we kept going. And when they crashed, like, all right, well, brush it off. That's what we're doing. It's part of bike racing. And they didn't skip a beat. They did it. And so January 1st, we bought them licenses and they started racing. And they stuck on it and they loved it. And they still have bikes and they still ride and they still love the sport, but they're doing different things right now. So it's not really in the room for them, but it worked.
I think there's two big things to grab on there. The simple one is that when you go with your children to do like a run, or they're on scooters, or you're on a bike, you got to pick your transportation modality carefully because if you're running and they're doing something they're terrible at, you have to stop. Like every 3 steps, you're stopping and short.
Yeah.
If you're on a bike, you have to like watch out for
Oh,
all
yeah.
that junk. Yeah, there's like
Yeah. You know, and so they only came out with me on my rest days, but my rest days were still pretty fast for what they could do at 10, 12, 14 years old, whatever. But yeah, man, like we'd stop at a stop sign and they'd plow into me or they'd fall over because they didn't see it or weren't paying attention or whatever. I remember one time I took my son, we were all on a big ride, and I brought him on a group ride that we were doing and with some of my teammates. And I knew what was coming up and I told him, I was like, hey, look, it's a big downhill. Be careful. It's got a big curve on it. Don't follow Jeremy because he's going to go crazy. Just stay within yourself. You'll be fine. What did he do? He followed Jeremy. I came around the bend and his bike was hanging from the tree. He had crashed down in the ditch and it bounced, like we had to climb the tree like 10 feet to get his bike down because it had bounced up into the tree. I'm like, dude, I told you, don't follow Jeremy. Like, well, I thought it would be fun. And okay, well, what'd you learn off of that? Don't follow Jeremy. Right?
I also like that I like the proving ground a little bit for something, because right now we're young and we're trying lots of, oh, you want to try this? You show one hint of interest in it, we go for it.
Yeah.
However, I think maybe like making them do a little something to get that
Yeah.
can help out with it's like a pre-commitment before the commitment. So
Yeah. Oh, you
we
want to play
haven't.
soccer? Oh, great. Here's a soccer ball. Here's a net. Practice every day for 6 weeks. We'll sign you up for soccer practice.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
And it worked. Like they had fun with it and they got more out of it. And yeah, it was good.
Have you gone through the book Grit, Angela Duckworth's Grit?
Yeah, I've read that
So
one.
they talk about that, the importance of when you start something, sticking with it. And you got to think, if you make them prove it before you start it, you're probably your like percentages of having stick with itness is probably going to go through the roof.
Oh, 100%. I mean, think about I made them train on an indoor trainer in the dead of winter for a month every day for like an hour a day, boring as all get out. so they could get a license. And then when they got the license, they could go ride outside with people. They had so much more fun and they loved it. But then when it came down to putting the work in to train on the trainer to be faster, they jumped on the trainer because they knew it was going to make them faster.
Yeah, sweet.
But,
I
yeah,
like that.
right.
I like that. I like a little bit of a little obstacle before the challenge.
Right.
Yeah, funny. How about so you did some coaching, and are you still coaching any cycling? Are you still involved in that
No,
world?
not really. I'm gonna be honest. I realized after a few years of coaching that I didn't really like coaching.
Yeah.
So I don't I still I do a little bit at Body 20 just because I have to, and I can do it. I don't mind it, but it's not something that was ever a passion for me. Julie, it's a passion for her, right? She's a natural coach. She loved it. She dug every bit of it. It was part of who she is. I tried, and I did. I had my own coaching business for a while. I was up to like 30 athletes that I was coaching, and it was great and it was fun. It just, for me, the passion just wasn't there for coaching. So I like to teach people how to coach. I don't actually like to coach.
Yeah.
Just like racing a bike. I love racing a bike, but I hate training. I hate riding a bike, but I love racing.
Funny. Yeah. What do you think kind of lies in your future? You've moved over to Body 20. You've got a pretty interesting background so far. What direction do you think you're heading?
I don't know. We're kind of right now. We're just kind of see what happens. I wouldn't. I, I see myself being here for a while just because it's interesting, it's fun, and I love what I'm doing. Um, I think eventually I want to get back to the teaching world. It's tough because, I mean, as you know, being here in St. Louis, there's not a whole lot of jobs in the exercise science industry here in St. Louis. It's really hard to get something stable. And so, and our grandkids and kids all live here, minus the one who's in Miami for school. And so we don't want to leave. And so because I'm not willing to leave, I gotta kind of have to stay here and figure something else out. Um, I don't know. We'll see. There might be a Body 20 ownership in the future. We'll see. I haven't really thought that far yet. See.
And what do they do? How frequently do your Body 20 members come in? And are they there once a week, twice a week?
Usually twice a week. Usually we're seeing everybody. We have a few that are once a week, but mostly twice a week. So it's pretty regular.
And do you only do the suit with the EMS? Is that the only service, or is there like a traditional gym attached or anything like that?
No, there's no traditional gym. Right now, it is only the EMS work that we do. I am bringing in, so I mentioned earlier, I'm certified in the functional movement system. So I am bringing in the functional movement component where we'll be doing functional movement assessments and corrective exercise training for people, just simply because I bring it to the table,
Yeah.
and so we might as well. Um, and you don't need all the gym equipment or anything like that to do that, because the functional movement isn't about how much you move, it's about how well you move. So so we'll be adding that component in. But yeah, that's about it right now, just the EMS for the moment.
And then how long has Body 20 been around?
So the company itself has been around for about 10 years. This location, we're the only one in St. Louis. We've been open 10 months now, so it's fairly new.
What do they got? What do they got going? Any changes for them coming up?
For the local Body
that
20.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, no big changes yet. There'll be a second location that opens soon. We got to get our numbers up to where we want them to be first. Once we get that up, then we'll learn out to we'll open up a second store.
Yeah. So this is the Winning Wellness Podcast, and that's kind of a two-sided coin, if you will. Is that one side is that people need to win their wellness. They've got maybe a post-accident, there's a disease, they haven't taken care of themselves. Whatever their situation is, they don't even feel like themselves. They don't feel a sense of health. And then the other side of the coin would be the pursuing. They want to win some stuff. They're competitive, whether it's against other people or themselves, and they are chasing goals. As a health and wellness expert, what is maybe the number one thing that people should do or aren't doing that you would like to maybe talk about for a second and kind of help us all win our wellness?
So I think if you break that into two different parts, the people who on the one side where they're trying to win back their health and wellness and move from injury or anything like that, or just get started. Now, I would say addressing that group first, just move, just do. Don't worry about the numbers. Don't get hung up on what the scale says. Don't get hung up on how little a weight you can move or how much weight you can move. Just move. Get started and move. If you need help, focus on functional activity. I will preach it to the stars. Functional movement is key. Just be able to get up out of bed every day and get out of the couch and get up, go for a walk, go for a bike ride if you've got a bike, or just get started. Don't worry about anything else. Just get started, and don't give up. I think that I've been in that shoe and know how hard it is to get started again. As after I broke my back, I didn't think I was going to walk again. So, 9 months later, I was back training, and 2 years later, I was at World Championship. So you just take advantage of things in front of you. Yeah, there were people in my backyard that helped me, gave me some opportunities that I'll be forever grateful for. But you just gotta take advantage of that stuff and keep moving. For the people who want to win, train hard, stay focused. That mental energy that you're going to put into what you're doing is as much or more important than any of the physical stuff that you're going to do. So make sure that your mind is straight. Focus on the mental aspect. Tell yourself you can do it. Talk yourself through what you're trying to do, because that can help with any of the plateaus. And then again, functional movement. Focus on functional movement. Being able to move well in your space. Become an expert moving in your space, and then load it. And then once you load it, you'll see a huge difference.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you for those. Yeah. I like that. I like that emphasis on just getting started, but also just moving. I mean, it's amazing sometimes when I feel not so good, and maybe it's in a particular joint or I'm just run down or whatever, and I go in, and sometimes I'm 45 minutes into my session before I even feel like I'm warm. And that didn't used to happen, but now in my late 30s, I mean, I was hurting like a month ago. My back was hurting pretty good, and I'll do some body weight rear foot elevated squats today, and then I grabbed some fives and some tens, and I think I ended that day with some 75s or something like that. But it took me 45 minutes of I'm just gonna be really timid and do a little something.
Yeah.
And then wait a second, I'm feeling better now. I'm gonna go up a little bit, but yeah, you miss out if you skip all the times you're not into it, you miss out.
Yeah. And you know how many times I woke up in the morning and I can't hardly move. My back hurts so bad. I started about 8 months ago. I do 100 push-ups every morning. I roll out of bed, straight to the floor I don't take a step, don't go to the bathroom, nothing. Roll out of bed, 100 push-ups.
Yeah.
At first, it was everything I had to get through 100 push-ups. But now when I roll out of bed, yeah, my back hurts. But by the time I'm done with those 100 push-ups, now I can crank them out pretty well. I'm
Yeah.
proficient with them. And by the time I stand up, it's like, oh, this is feeling pretty good. That has been a game changer for me. Just rolling out, doing something every single morning right before I do anything else as soon as I get out of bed. It
Yeah.
helps me move.
That's the third time you've mentioned something about getting out of bed in the morning. It's not, and actually, since you brought it up twice already, I was planning on circling back to it because I work with some older private clients, and as they're getting older, they talk about getting out of bed in the morning the way a young athlete would talk about maybe setting a record. Like, hey, what do you think? How do you think I should approach like trying to get what do you think I should do to try and bench press this new weight? My
Right.
older clients, late 60s, early 70s, they start having a conversation with, hey, what do you think I should do just first thing in the morning? Because when they wake up, they don't feel ready to go. It just
Right.
I guess it's something that's just for younger people. So you got the push-ups, you got any other gems for us for first thing in the morning?
I mean, there's so many, depending on who you're doing. Like, for me, I can do push-ups. I love push-ups. It's the single most beneficial activity that you can do that's whole body. So I've always loved push-ups. So I do push-ups. Julie does sit-ups. She likes sit-ups, so she does sit-ups every day. We do them together. Um, if you've got older people who just want to be able to get up and start with like body squats, just an air squat, just going up and down, doing a sit to stand on the side of your bed is going to be 10. I mean, sit to stand is the standard measurement for elderly people for cardiovascular health. So why not start? If you can do 10 sit to stands, do 11 tomorrow, do 12 the next day, do 13 the day after that. Because that's a gold standard measurement that we use to measure cardiovascular health with elderly. So if you can do it, start it. I have people who have worked with people with shoulder impingements. So I would have them first thing in the morning extend their arm out in front of them and pretend like you're signing your name. So I'm going to sign my name, just do my signature. Do that for 10 seconds and then try and sign your name with your left hand. Do that for 10 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever. That helps with that shoulder impingement. Just simple movements. It doesn't need to be big, just simple.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a big fan of push-ups. Not everybody can do push-ups, especially when you get older, but sit to stands, body weight squats, just air squats, a lunge, a sit up, a crunch, do crunches in bed. I've had people do like dead bugs laying in bed before they get out of bed, or like reverse swimmers or anything like that, just in bed, just to help them get out of bed. Doesn't need to be. There's so many different movements. Doesn't need to be this massive multi-joint compound movement. Just something simple to move, and then start your day. But consistency is key, right? We do things every day consistently, things are going to get better. I've been doing 100 push-ups every day for over almost a year. That's at first it sucked, but now it's not so bad. I can do
Yeah.
100 push-ups in less than 2 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
I
I'm
think
46. How many 20-year-olds can do that?
I think the most impressive part of that is that your bladder will wait until after that.
I know, right? I'm
The
not
hun-
that old.
the 100 push-ups I'm impressed with, but the before you go to the bathroom is like super impressive.
It helps me go
Um,
faster.
yeah, I get it. Um, is there anything that we have not discussed? Maybe you have any other good soapboxes to hop on, or anything else that you maybe want to educate our athletes, our health-minded listeners? Any other gems to go along with the other gifts you've given us?
I mean, I don't know.
And
There's so much. I mean, it's just keep moving, functional movement, any kind of movement. Anybody who knows you, you know how to get a hold of me. Got questions? Let's do this again. This is fun. Like, um, you know, I love to help people, so I'm an open book and I'm available whenever. So
Yeah. And then my final thing was going to be, do you have contacts that anybody, I don't know, like a social media that you're using or an email that you give out, or just want me to channel them?
Whatever. I mean, you can, my email, Joshua Carter 63. It's easy. Joshua Carter 63 at gmail.com. That's a great way to get a hold of me. I'm big on LinkedIn. I do a lot of stuff through LinkedIn. So if you have any students or anything that want to connect with me, send them. I'm always on there and do lots of stuff with that. So that's a good way. And I mean, you have my phone number, so if you've got anybody who wants to, I'm not going to give it out here, but if you have somebody who, if you want, whatever, if you think it's beneficial for them, send me a text. Again, I'm open book, so whatever, I'm willing to help any way I can.
Thank you for listening to the Winning Wellness Podcast. Please keep in mind that all views expressed within the show are not a reflection of any universities or organizations that I may be affiliated with. If you have any questions or suggestions for future shows, please reach out through Instagram, where I can be found with the title name of Mitch Schwartzman.